Hey, this is Trent Willmon, and you're watching Strike TV.
Hey everybody, Brian here, Strike TV Backstage Access, and it's still going.
Oh yeah?
I don't know if you can still hear it in the background. Yeah, so, and that's supposed to be a trop rock, but man, it sounds good. So we are at the Lone Star Luau, and man, I'm honored. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Trent Willmon. Man, it was been a fan for a long time, even in the radio days, for 6 years, and I got out, but you're still here. So I guess that's who's good and who's not. So thanks for
there's a fine line between tenacity and just being an idiot, you know. So what can I say? I'm hard-headed.
So now, when I first met you in the day, you know, you were doing the tours and the radio singles,
yes,
and so. But then now it's mainly songwriting and producing.
Right. Yes, sir.
So and you've had some cuts.
Yes, sir. I've managed to stay afloat. Just, you know, I sort of carved out my little niche, and most of my guys are independent guys that I work with, and you know, but you know, there's a couple of, you know, like Cody Johnson. He's with a major label now, but you know, he started here in Texas, and just built that thing, you know, till Nashville couldn't ignore him anymore. It got to that point, and so that's kind of my niche. Is I work with guys that I love their stuff, and we just work and work and work and build it until it gets to the next level. And you know, it's just kind of the old-fashioned way. And people in Nashville sort of look at it like it's outdated, but it's been working. So I'm keeping at it, you know.
I mean, you've survived all the craziness of labels and this and labels and that, and I mean, you've kind of been the back. I mean, I don't want to say the background. I mean, because a lot of people don't realize, they'll hear a Eric Church song or a Brad Paisley song or whatever. Some don't realize who wrote it, or who the writers are, and
right. Well, you know, I've always been a fan of songwriters and songs, and I got into this as a songwriter. I got into the music business just as a songwriter and a side guy. You know, I moved to Nashville to play bass for another artist, and I wound up, you know, the front man by default. Right. So I've always been an Uber fan, like Tom and Cody were talking about. You know, Tom was saying he was such a fan of music, and I think that most of us writers are just Uber fans of music. Right. You know, and instead of sit by and watch, we got to create it. And that's, I've always had that sort of creative. I want to be in on the ground floor of things. Right. And sometimes you just get lucky. I think my philosophy is, if you work your ass off, you get lucky more. Right. Yeah. And so I don't know anything else to do except for, you know, I come from West Texas. I just and I feel like I've been super blessed, and I've got to meet some amazing artists, and some of them every now and then they like something we write, and so, you know.
So when you said when you moved to Nashville, you were the bass player, right, or whatever. So for the artist, and you took over. So was that the individual that you were originally playing for? Are they still around? Are they still in the business or whatever? No, not without name. I don't know if you want to name.
Well, no, they're not in the business anymore. But I stayed there because I realized this is the songwriting mecca, right? And it still is. I believe that Nashville, despite what I think about what's on, you know, whatever else is going on in Nashville at the time, it's still the mecca for songwriters and musicians, and so I love it, and the bar's always been so high. Right. Like tonight, we've got Paul Overstreet, you know, and in the past, you know, Wynn Varble.
Wynn Varble, yeah.
So we've got all these incredible songwriters. That's the bar. You know, and they come from all over the country. Right. These great songwriters. Bob Regan was here earlier, and I learned to write from those guys. And they were like the old cowboys. They didn't cut me any slack, and they would put me in a room with these old guys, and I'd throw out a line, and they would look at me and go, "Man, that sucks." and then I would have to learn to get better.
Right.
If I wanted to stay in the game. And that's how I learned.
Man, that's awesome. So, so basically, right now you do a lot of the songwriter shows. Is that really? You play some band gigs here and there? Or?
We do. Yeah, we still do a few corporate gigs. You know, I kind of came off the road when I got custody of my kid, and so I just scaled it way back. Now she's grown and married, and so I'm still doing some. I do a lot of these acoustic shows, and things like this are awesome because I just show up with my guitar. But I do a lot of private events, and I do corporate things with the band, and so it's just enough to I still go get to scratch my musical itch, but most of the time I'm in the studio or I'm writing. So it's a pretty good life.
So, man, I'm just, again, I'm thankful, man. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
You know, because it's funny when you know, as a fan, you drive down the road and you hear the song, and it may be somebody else, but we know, you know, you had written it. Because you talk about being the fan. I remember I would sit in Deerbrook Mall in Humble, Texas, when I would buy cassettes. And I'd go to the food court and I'd sit down there and open it up. Who played on it, who wrote it, who produced it.
Right.
You know, all of that stuff. And I would just be like, you know, you mention these names, but man. So how can they find you? We have a website?
Sure, TrentWillmon.com.
TrentWillmon.com. That's too easy.
I know.
Facebook, Instagram, all that
So
good
boring.
stuff?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I have, yeah, my wife set me up this Instagram account. And it's great because I take a picture with my phone. It's usually a barbecue or something.
Right.
And then it automatically goes to Facebook. And I don't have to read comments or anything. So I just, you know, I click it and it goes where it's supposed to go and I don't worry about it.
Man, that's
Pretty
cool.
awesome.
Man, hey, thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you. Trent Willmon, thanks so much. Y'all check him out, TrentWillmon.com. Brian here, Strike TV, Backstage Access. See you next time.